Deel versus Remote. If you are currently exploring global hiring platforms and you are trying to decide which one is the right choice for your business in 2026, then there is a very high chance that you have already come across both Deel and Remote multiple times during your research. And the reason for that is quite simple. Both of these platforms are among the most widely recognized and widely used employer of record solutions in the global hiring space today. Now, at first glance, they appear to offer very similar capabilities. They both allow companies to hire employees in different countries without needing to establish local legal entities. They both manage payroll, contracts, compliance requirements, and tax obligations. And they both position themselves as complete solutions for building distributed teams across the world. However, despite these similarities, there are some very important structural differences between Deel and Remote that are not immediately obvious when you are just looking at feature lists or pricing pages. And those differences can have a meaningful impact on how your company hires internationally, how quickly you are able to scale, and how you manage compliance risk over time. So in this video, we are going to take a detailed and structured look at Deel versus Remote, focusing specifically on the areas that actually matter when making a decision like this. We will go step by step through pricing, global coverage, compliance models, platform experience, support, and practical use cases. And by the end of this video, you should have a much clearer understanding of which platform is more aligned with your specific hiring needs and long-term business goals. Now, before we begin comparing features directly, it is useful to first understand the underlying problem that both of these platforms are designed to solve. When a company decides to hire internationally, it quickly runs into a number of challenges that are not present in domestic hiring. For example, every country has its own labor laws, tax regulations, and employment requirements. In many cases, hiring an employee legally in another country requires setting up a local legal entity, registering with tax authorities, and maintaining ongoing compliance with local regulations. This process can be both time-consuming and expensive, especially if you are hiring in multiple countries at the same time. This is exactly where employer of record platforms come into play. An employer of record, or EOR, essentially acts as the legal employer on behalf of your company. They handle employment contracts, payroll processing, tax filings, benefits administration, and compliance with local labor laws. This allows your company to hire international employees without going through the process of setting up a legal entity in each country. Both Deel and Remote operate within this model, but as we will see, they implement it in different ways. Let's begin with Deel. Deel has built its platform around speed, flexibility, and global accessibility. One of the key strengths of Deel is its ability to support hiring in a very large number of countries. This is made possible through a hybrid infrastructure that combines Deel's own legal entities with partnerships in various regions. As a result, companies using Deel can often enter new markets more quickly and onboard employees in a shorter time frame. This can be particularly valuable for startups and fast-growing companies that need to scale rapidly across multiple regions. Now, let's look at Remote. Remote takes a more controlled and standardized approach. Instead of relying on a combination of entities and partners, Remote focuses on building and maintaining its own legal entities in the countries where it operates. This means that when you hire through Remote, the employment relationship is managed entirely within Remote's own infrastructure. This approach can provide a higher level of consistency and direct oversight, particularly in terms of compliance and legal structure. So even at a high level, we can already see a fundamental difference in philosophy. Deel prioritizes flexibility and speed, while Remote prioritizes control and consistency. Now, let's move on to pricing, which is often one of the most important factors in the decision-making process. With Deel, pricing tends to be more flexible and can vary depending on the country and the type of hire. For example, contractor pricing is typically structured as a monthly fee per contractor, while EOR pricing for full-time employees may differ based on local employment costs and regulatory requirements. This flexibility allows companies to adapt their hiring strategy based on regional needs, but it also means that pricing may not always be uniform across all markets. Remote, on the other hand, generally offers a more standardized pricing structure. This can make it easier for companies to forecast costs and plan budgets over the long term, especially if they are hiring in multiple countries. So the trade-off here is relatively straightforward. Deel provides more flexibility in pricing, while Remote provides more predictability. Now let's talk about global coverage. Deel currently supports hiring in over 150 countries, making it one of the most widely available platforms in terms of geographic reach. This allows companies to expand into new markets with fewer limitations. Remote supports a smaller number of countries, but each of those countries is backed by a fully owned legal entity. This means that while the overall coverage may be narrower, the level of control within each supported country is higher. So again, we see a trade-off between breadth and depth. Next, let's examine compliance, which is one of the most critical aspects of global hiring. Both Deel and Remote provide comprehensive compliance support, including employment contracts, tax filings, and adherence to local labor laws. However, their underlying approaches differ. Deel's hybrid model allows it to scale quickly, while Remote's fully owned model allows for more direct oversight. It is important to emphasize that both platforms are designed to be compliant. The difference lies in how compliance is structured and managed. Now let's consider the platform experience. Deel is known for its fast and modern interface, with workflows that are optimized for speed and ease of use. Remote offers a more structured experience, with an emphasis on clarity and process consistency. Now let us bring this into real-world scenarios, because this is where the comparison becomes much more practical and much easier to understand. Let us start with a fast-growing startup environment. Imagine a company that has just secured funding and is now under pressure to scale its team quickly across multiple regions. In this situation, speed becomes one of the most critical factors. The company cannot afford long onboarding timelines, complex legal processes, or delays caused by setting up local infrastructure. They need a solution that allows them to identify talent, make an offer, and onboard that employee in the shortest time possible. This is exactly where a platform like Deel tends to perform very well. Because of its flexible infrastructure and broad country coverage, Deel allows companies to move quickly, enter new markets with fewer restrictions, and onboard employees without significant delays. Now let us consider a different scenario. Instead of a fast-moving startup, imagine a company that is building a long-term, stable international workforce. This company is less concerned about speed and more focused on consistency, compliance, and long-term operational structure. They want to ensure that every employee is hired under a uniform legal framework with clearly defined processes and minimal variation across regions. In this case, Remote becomes a very strong option. Because of its fully owned entity model, Remote provides a higher level of control and standardization, which can be particularly valuable for companies that prioritize compliance and long-term stability. So even though both platforms solve the same core problem, they are optimized for different types of organizations and different hiring strategies. Now, let us talk about scalability, which is often overlooked when companies first choose a platform. At a small scale, many platforms can appear similar. Hiring one or two international employees is relatively straightforward. But as your team grows, the differences between platforms become more noticeable. For example, managing a team of 5 people across 2 countries is very different from managing a team of 50 people across 10 countries. At that scale, factors like reporting, compliance consistency, and operational clarity become much more important. DLS flexibility can be very helpful when scaling quickly into multiple regions. It allows companies to expand without being constrained by limited coverage. Remote S-structured model can be advantageous when managing larger, more stable teams. It provides consistency and clarity, which can reduce complexity over time. So once again, the decision depends on how you expect your organization to grow. Now, let us take a moment to talk about operational efficiency. Beyond hiring and compliance, these platforms also affect how your team operates on a daily basis. For example, think about managing payroll across multiple countries. Without a centralized platform, this can quickly become complex and time-consuming. Both Deel and Remote simplify this by providing a unified system for managing international employees. However, the experience may differ slightly. Deel focuses on making processes fast and automated. Remote focuses on making processes clear and structured. So depending on your team's preferences, one approach may feel more intuitive than the other. Now let us summarize everything in a clear and structured way. Deel is generally a strong choice for companies that prioritize speed, flexibility, and global reach. It enables fast onboarding, supports a large number of countries, and adapts well to dynamic hiring needs. Remote is generally a strong choice for companies that prioritize compliance, consistency, and control. It provides a standardized infrastructure, fully owned entities, and a more structured approach to global hiring. So instead of asking which platform is better, it is more useful to ask which platform is better for your specific situation. Now, to bring this to a final conclusion, both Deel and Remote are strong, capable platforms. Both are widely used. Both solve the core challenges of global hiring, but they are designed for different types of companies and different ways of working. Deel is built for flexibility and speed. Remote is built for control and consistency. And the best choice is the one that aligns with how your business operates and how you plan to grow. Thank you for watching.